Welcome back to JMuddy93. I am Jeremy Warner. So this is part 2. I am going to try to make this section a little bit quicker than normal, but I'm also not going to leave out any detail. So again, this may be a long video. So anyhow, hit that like and subscribe button and let's get started to cleaning out our case, our parts, and everything that has to go with this motor. So, if you missed out on the last 2 videos of this wheeler flipping over into Tall Pine's bounty hole, make sure you watch that video and you'll see why this happened. But anyhow, you see how there's all this dirt and garbage and stuff like that all over the engine? Well, you can't really have that in your engine, or else down the line you're going to wear out those bearings and pretty much cause havoc on your whole engine, including your crank. We got our heads over here, and we're going to be cleaning those up too. And pretty much everything that has to do with the engine, like even these bolts over here got to be cleaned. And so give you an idea what we're going to be using to clean this engine. We are going to be using gasoline. It's way cheaper than buying a whole bunch of cans of brake cleaner. Just to give you an idea, brake clean can cost anywhere from $8 a can to $20 a can, versus if you spent $20 going up to the gas station and pretty much filling up your gas can, that'll just save you a whole bunch of money. You can use soap and water, that's up to you, but considering it is wintertime, it is about 37 degrees outside at this time. I don't want to be using soap and water, and then it gets all caught up in the oil galleys and the cooling passages that we end up having a split case or cracking, or we go to start up the motor and we still have water in the motor. So that's why we're using gasoline to clean up this engine. Now, to kind of use as a tub to have the gasoline in, I bought this from Lowe's. It was like $8. But as you can see, it pretty much, by the looks of it, it'll fit your case in there perfectly. So anyhow, let's get to cleaning. So the first step is we're going to wipe out all of this gunk here on the bottom. So that way when we put it in our little container there, we have less dirt in it that we got to clean out. So we're going to start with wiping all this out and getting as much as we can before we start cleaning. Alright, so I wanted to show so far what I got cleaned up. It's quite, I still have some garbage in there that I'm going to try to clean up before I actually take this and put it into our container here. The goal is to get this completely cleaned and so that way we can continue onto what we're doing, which is pretty much rebuilding this motor. But I'm just going to show the other side of the case here and show you this is pretty much where we started. And this is so far where we're going. And it needs to be a lot cleaner than that. I gotta get a set of snap ring pliers and pop this gear out. And pretty much go from there. And then when we get back, I'll pretty much have this case set off to the side. And we'll start working on this side of the case here. Alright, so now we got the other side of the case here. I think this side is just as nasty or nastier than the other one. But the thing is, it's a lot easier to clean because we don't have all that fancy-dancy, how should I put it, oil channels and stuff like that in the way. But yeah, so we're gonna wipe out all the dirt and crap that's in here, so then it's a lot easier for me to clean it when it comes to using the gasoline. So anyhow, let's get started. Alright, so on the left side of the case is where it is somewhat clean. It's cleaner than what it was. Then you go in the middle where the oil screen was. That is super dirty, which I'm going to replace the oil screen when I assemble everything. Also, too, this is on the right side. So in the middle, that's the before. And that's pretty much the after. And as you can see, how much of a big difference just wiping it out can be. Like what I said, again, I'm just wiping this out before I actually clean the rest of the case using gasoline, because I really don't want to be, how should I put it, sniffing gasoline the entire time that I'm cleaning this engine up. I don't want to get high while I'm doing it. Yes, you can get high off of gasoline fumes, and I just don't want a rough time just trying to clean out this case. I want to build the motor properly. So anyhow, I'm going to continue cleaning out this case, and when we get back, we will start cleaning out pretty much everything else when it comes to the case. Alright, so one thing that I noticed on my crank bearings is I got a little bit of copper sticking out. I think at this point I'll just add crank bearings to the list. Okay, so we pretty much got this all cleaned out of all the heavy excess dirt. So now that that's done on that side, it's time to take care of this side here. And once we get this side taken care of, we can, of all the heavy dirt and stuff like that, then we can dunk it into our bin here, which once I pour the gasoline in it, gasoline poured in here. I decided to use a bigger container. That way I can actually rinse off everything and make sure everything is put together correctly. But yeah, right now I'm just starting off with the dowel for the cover that we pulled in the last video. I did not show specifically cleaning that the cover, but now I am, because yeah, I forgot to show myself cleaning out all the mud out of that cover, which is this guy pretty much here. So pretty much I'm just gonna dunk it in. Wonder how clean we can actually get this case cover here. Well, I guess we're gonna find out. All right, so I grabbed this brush here. You can get these at Harbor Freight. I think they cost something like 10, 13 bucks. Something like that, super cheap. They come in a 3-pack. So I'm gonna go ahead here. I'll get my gloves on, start scrubbing, and when we get back, this case should be completely cleaned. Okay, so I'm about to be done with this section of the case, and I got the gasket off by pretty much using a brass brush and just going around the entire thing. One thing I will mention before I move on is that we have this plug down here. So this plug here goes all the way down to your main crank bearings. So this plug here is about a 5mm Allen. Now, if you don't pull this plug, while cleaning this whole case out, you might end up having debris in the engine. So right here we have an oil galley, so we want to go ahead and clean that out. I'm using this brush here. FYI, you can get these at Harbor Freight for not that much, but yeah, you'd pretty much just go in there, clean out the hole. And then once you have that hole pretty much cleaned out, if I were you, I would take this plug here and put some red Loctite on and put it back in. Get these little oil galleys here cleaned out. One thing I will mention is that these tiny brushes will actually get into these holes here. You can get these from Harbor Freight, but yeah, it doesn't hurt to get these holes cleaned out, especially when you're doing this. And also too, make sure you clean out your crankcase vent while you're at it. But yeah, so now all we got to do is take our blowgun, blow all this out, and pretty much blow all the dirt out, and hopefully we can move on to our next step. Alright, so this here is the side of the case that we pretty much cleaned that cover of. So as you can see, the gasket lining's pretty much for the entire cover. So we gotta clean this section up next. There's a lot of oil galleries and stuff like that. And also on top of that too, this is the side where the oil screen goes. So we really want to make sure that we clean this properly. So anyhow, I'll put this on a time lapse. And well, actually before I put this on a time lapse, I want to point out there. So before I continue, I want to point out there's an oil galley here, 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 here. One here, down in here, here, pretty much anywhere, like even right here, because it goes up and shoots over. And then on the other side, I think this is either an oil or a coolant passage, but we know that in here, there's a whole bunch of oil galleys and stuff like that. There's one here and here and pretty much wherever you can think of. So this is going to take a lot of cleaning. So anyhow, I'm going to get started. And hopefully by the time we're done, this is pretty clean. Now, I don't have to film everything, but I kind of want to show I got dirt in that pocket there, dirt in that pocket. Pretty much this whole section is not that easy to clean out. And yeah, so I got to work for a while. I got my brass brush right here. And pretty much work at just cleaning out these oil galleys here, because if I don't, when we go to fire this engine back up, we're going to be taking it back apart again if we blow it up. So anyhow, I'm going to continue cleaning, and when we get back, you'll see a lot cleaner case than what we have now. All right, so one thing I want to point out is always second check where you just cleaned. As you can see in this corner here, there's still a little bit of dirt in there. And there's a piece of paper towel in there. Why don't I just grab that out real quick? So yeah, there's a piece of paper towel in there. There's still a little bit of mud in there. And then some material here, some material there. It looks like most of this material is pretty much going to blow off. Oh yeah, and then also I found some mud in there. Pretty much you gotta get in there and dig all of that mud out of there. That's why one of my friends, Mark Sommer, he will say you will never get the case clean, exactly clean when you swamp it. Oh, there's a little bit more dirt over there. So anyhow, I'm going to work at continuing cleaning out this case. And then I think what I'll do is I'll go inside, rinse the rest of it out with soap and water once I rinse everything else out. But yeah, it's not really an easy process. And this is only one side of the case. So one thing I do want to mention before you continue on to the other side, because this side is completely done, wrap up the case in a bag to try to keep debris and stuff like that out of. So anyhow, let's dive into the other side. Okay, so time to get started on the other side of this case here. So you have an oil passage here, two here, which we'll clean these up in a minute here. Right here and here for our oil filter. And then we have an oil passage down in here. And one other thing I will mention is that there is a 5mm plug here, and this plug goes down into your oil passage here and goes down to your crank bearing here. So that's where that pretty much goes. The plug is here. I'm going to undo that and Alright, so kind of hard to point out where the dirt is, but you can kind of see it. Didn't realize that this crevice actually has oil that goes in and out of it. I will be checking this on the other case before I continue with reassembly eventually down the line. But I just wanted to point something out here that yeah, don't forget to check the V here for any dirt or something like that if you swamped your motor. Alright, so pretty much this side, when it comes to mud, is all cleaned out. I'm going to clean up that spot a little bit more. But yeah, just giving it one real quick once over before I start blowing it out. But yeah, we're going to clean up that little section there, and then we're going to blow out this case with compressed air. And once we're done blowing this out with compressed air, again, we're going to put a bag around this, and then we will clean out the squirters for the case. Pretty much anything that we need to put this case back together is going to be cleaned for this part of the video. Everything else from like the heads, I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be putting in new pistons and jugs, but I know for sure the heads are going to be cleaned and rebuilt. All this hardware and parts and stuff like that, that's going to be pretty much cleaned up and put back together. Or actually, I shouldn't say put back together. We're getting there. All these parts are going to be cleaned, and yeah. So all we gotta do is just wipe up that spot, blow this out, and then we'll clean the squirters up, and then we'll move on to the next step of our process. All right, so we're done with the other side of the case. So we're going to enclose this in a pretty much a garbage bag like we did with the other side. And next, we're going to start cleaning up the crank that's sitting on the workbench over there. All right, so next what we're going to be doing is cleaning up the crank and the connecting rods, which I'll show you in the bin here. We got our connecting rods over here in the back. Then we have our crank right over here. All we're going to be doing is making sure that we have no dirt on pretty much the inside of the connecting rods and the crank. Pretty simple. What I'm going to be using, because these surfaces are pretty fragile. I'm going to be using a nylon brush to pretty much go through and clean out some of these oil galleys. So once you pretty much get your dirt and crap cleaned out of your crank, one thing I'm going to do for good measure is I'm going to use some compressed air, blow out all these oil galley holes. So the next step in the process is we are moving on to our connecting rods. Our connecting rods have they took a little bit more damage than what they should have. Like you can see the rust and corrosion and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we are going to work on these one at a time. And the reason why I say one at a time is because these are break-off connecting rods. So when they make them, they pretty much break them to have your end cap. My F-150 is set up to be the same way. As you can see, you have the ends there. In the light, you can see it's not really like, how should I put it? It's not really a clean finish. So when they go together, they match up together. They pretty much match right up to each other. So you need to keep this in mind. You need to keep your bearing caps, your bearings, pretty much anything together of that connecting rod. So what I'm going to do now is going to go ahead and clean off some of this rust and all that, because the last thing you want in your engine is to actually have rust on the inside of it. Alright, so I just got done cleaning it. Cleaning one side out. So over on this side, this is pretty much the before. I don't know how well you can see the rust on camera. I'm trying to make it fit onto the camera here. But yeah, that's pretty much your rust right there. And then after, as you can see on the after, it's quite a big difference. So this connecting rod has rust over here, rust over here. Pretty much it needs a really good cleaning. So anyhow, what I've been using is a brass brush, which I'm going to go to Harbor Freight probably tomorrow to get some more. Alright, so one thing I do want to mention with your crank, before you actually continue cleaning on something else, you're going to take a paper towel, you're going to take some oil, and what you're going to do is you're going to take your paper towel. Ooh. Had this oil sitting on the shelf for a while. It's not old oil, but at the same time, it's kind of a dark amberish color. But one thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fold it like that, and then you're going to fold it again. You're going to make sure it absorbs into that paper towel. You're going to take your crank and you're going to pretty much coat it with oil. It doesn't need to be a heavy coat. It needs to be just enough to keep your crank from rusting. So yeah, there you go. The crank is all coated. Now we can move back to the connecting rods. Alright, so unfortunately, I don't know what happened when it came to recording on my phone, but I lost pretty much the rest of the video of myself cleaning all the other parts for the engine. The only thing that I didn't clean on the engine was the outer cover for the case, where the stator and everything else is. I cleaned all the other bolts, nuts, stuff like that off of camera, which FYI, if when you do clean your timing chain, make sure you actually soak it in some oil. That's something I'm going to tell you. That way it doesn't rust or anything like that. So cleaned up all the bolts. Pretty much I used gasoline and blowed it all off with a blowgun. It really wasn't that hard. I didn't want it to be like an all-out process of it being boring. I decided later down in the line that we are going to clean the heads. And I'm not going to be reusing the jugs, but we're still going to be cleaning those because I might save those in the future for something else. But in the meantime, I do have parts coming in to assemble the case. Because really, to put everything back together, you need to assemble the case properly. Everything has to be torqued correctly. I'm trying to find a few other manuals so I get the proper torque specs for the engine. On top of that, too, I have a few other tools that I need to buy, so it is a lot of money. And also, too, if you don't hear from me before Christmas, Merry Christmas, you know. If you can, hit that like and subscribe button, and stay tuned for the next video when we actually start reassembling the case.